Thanks for joining another episode of Empowering Lives Through Relationships. I know sometimes that my shows are on Thursdays, but tonight I just wanted to do a special show because I have my friend. She flew in from Florida. So I said, you know what, let's do a show tonight. Let's talk about your testimony and everything. So tonight's topic is from broken to healed. And we're going to touch some key points and just talk about, this amazing topic tonight. So I'm going to give everyone a minute to join and to share to your groups. So let me see. Okay. So everyone can just join. Everyone who is joining on Facebook, you can just share to your groups, share to your pages, do some invites, because like I said, we have an amazing topic tonight. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. So we're still going to give everyone just a minute to come on. And okay. And just share to your groups, share to your pages. And again, tonight's topic is from broken to healed. Okay, and I guess we could go ahead and get started. And if you are on the replay, just let me know. And if you have some questions while we're discussing the topic, that's all you have to do is just comment and we will get your questions. It will let us know if you have questions. Okay, so let me introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Deandra Williams. I am from Tampa and I came to visit my friend Keisha. We met over 3.5 years ago, something like that. On Facebook. And this weekend is our first weekend meeting. So I'm super excited about this. Amen. I'm excited about where God is taking you and where He's taking us.
Amen.
So when we talked about doing this video, before I leave tomorrow, I was super excited about doing this because, as you know, I love people and I love to share my story with people and hope that people will begin their healing process to some things that have happened to us in our lives, that we have gone through in our lives, and hope that we all become a better version of ourselves, because that is my theme for my page, becoming a better version of yourself.
Okay. So before we get to the topic, do you want to tell us a little bit about your group and your upcoming podcast, and also the things that you're doing right now pertaining to?
All right. Well, my group is Becoming a Better Version of Yourself, because I believe that we all can become better than what we are today. Sometimes we have adversities in our life that's hindering us from becoming a better version of ourselves. This platform is where we can open up and speak about any and everything. And it's not only for women, it's for men as well, because what I came to understand as I speak with people and I talk to people all the time, men are just as broken as we are as women.
They are.
And I like to sit down and discuss with a lot of people about things. And what I do is come up with plans that we can work on to becoming a better version of yourself. Becoming a better version of yourself is being transparent to you, being naked, being opened, being honest, being truthful, looking in that mirror and looking at yourself and taking accountability for things.
Right. Okay. Amen. Okay, well, let's get to the questions that I have from you. have for you tonight. And the topic for tonight is from broken to healed. So that's the topic that we're discussing. So what in your life, what happened in your life that caused the brokenness?
Oh, well, I would have to start back. And this is what I told people when I speak with people. We have to go back to the first time we're broken. Mm-hmm. My first broken experience was when I was 7 years old. My mom passed away. Mm-hmm. And I moved to a small town in Georgia called Ludwigsie. From there, from about 9 years old to 10 years old, I was molested. Mm-hmm. From there, from 14, I was raped. And the cycle continued and it continued and it continued of bad things happening to me. I tell people trauma. Her and I hung out a lot. Mm-hmm. She was my best friend, and I got served trauma a whole lot. I was served trauma a whole lot in my life. And a lot of things kept happening, occurring in my life over and over and over again. Each time something was happening to me, I was breaking. I tell people I wasn't even broken. Broken is putting it mildly. I was shattered into little pieces. Mm-hmm. My life was like a fine piece of glass that get under your skin. You can feel the pain, but you can't get to the pain. Mm-hmm. You can't get to what's underneath the surface to get it out unless you dig real deep. So I had to go deep into where it first started from. I had to go into finding out about myself. I had to stop blaming everything around me and everybody around me. But some of the things that I allowed to happen to me, some things I could not control. Right. Being molested, I could not control that. Right. Being raped, I could not control that. But each one of these things altered my behavior and broke me. Some people, when the trauma happened to them, we never know how a person is going to react. Right. So we can never say, oh, if I was her, if I was him, I would do this and I would do that. Mm-hmm. Because we don't know. I didn't know that I would become a prisoner in my own mind. I had no idea I would become a prisoner in my own mind. So I accepted so many things that was happening to my life because I felt that's all I deserved. Why? Because I was shattered. I had nowhere to, I didn't have an avenue of how to start putting these little pieces of glasses of my life back together. I had not a clue. There was nobody there to show me, to guide me, to do anything. I had no idea what love was because I didn't even know what love is. I never experienced that. Everything that's happened to me was happening because of what transpired from then to what transpired to my adulthood. Okay.
So when you say what had transpired then to what transpired in your adulthood, so what happened from the trauma that you faced when you was younger, then it bled into your adulthood. So what started to happen as you became an adult?
What started to happen is I started dating all the wrong men. I ignored the red signs, the red flags, because I figured if I loved him a little more, he'll love me a little more. But the craziest part is I didn't even know how to love because I didn't even know what love was. So I would get out of one relationship and I'll jump right back into another relationship and hope that I would get it right this time. Hope that he would love me. But in each relationship, I don't even call them relationships, situationships I was in.
Situationships, okay.
I was used and abused. And when I tell people about abuse, when we speak about abuse, I tell people abuse is not only physical. There's mentally, there's emotional, there's spiritual. This abuse go across the board of what abuse was. Right. I wasn't physically abused at the hands of my husband. I was mentally and emotionally abused. My kids was physically abused because they was defenseless. Okay. So when I got into as I moved into the adulthood of the brokenness, because I was already broke and I could not identify what was going on with me at that point in time, because I had not a clue about being broken at all.
Right.
I didn't know. I didn't know I was broke. I knew I had love for people, but I didn't know how to love. I knew that I was supposed to be nice and kind to people because I was raised with my aunt and my uncle who told me you treat people the way you want to be treated. So I thought if I treat people the way I want to be treated, I get treated the same way. And guess what? I was not.
Wow.
I was not at all.
Okay. So in your relationship with your husband, was it physical, emotional? What type of abuse did you endure?
I have endured, not physically, emotional, mental, financial.
And they said that's worse.
It's worse
than physical
abuse. I could get a scar and it'll heal, but that emotional abuse that I get down, that's deep down inside, that no one can see. Because when everybody saw my husband and saw they saw this perfect little family. You know, we were always put together, well behaved, and but no one knew the pain or the hurt that I was in. And he could not identify to the pain and the hurt I was in, because guess what? He was just as broken as I was.
Right. That's normally how it plays out when they say hurt people hurt other people. So if two broken people get together, it causes chaos because both of you are hurting. So you're just constantly battling each other. Because guess what? I'm hurt, you hurt, neither one of us are healed. So when you say emotional, what are some of the red flags that you kind of ignored in the before entering into the marriage?
Oh my God, let me tell you about a story that happened before I got married to my husband that I blatantly ignored. He was at work one day and I was home and the police came to the apartment. We was living in Daytona.
And this was before marriage, correct?
This was before marriage.
Okay.
Knocked on the door and told me he was looking for my husband. And I thought, what did he do? The police officer told me this is one incident because I have so many, but this is one. They was like, well, we can't tell you, but we need for you to know he's a very dangerous man. Do not approach him. Call us. So I'm dumb, naive, nowhere to go, no one to call. I'm just sitting there like, okay, they must have the wrong guy, right? So he comes home and I said, well, the police came looking for you. After they told me not to tell him, but I told him anyway. So I think we should go to the police station. So he gathers his belongings and me and him go to the police station. Okay. The police takes him into custody. And I'm standing up there in disbelief of what is transpiring because the police explain they can't explain to me what's going on at the time. Long and behold, this man had AWOL from the military.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he had a court-martial warrant out for him. And I did not know anything about the military. I had no idea about court-martial or anything. So when he called me on the phone, it was always a story. They're wrong about this. They have made a mistake. I'll be home in 2 days. It's just crazy, baby. Believe me, because I love you and I would never do anything.
Okay. So basically, from what you were seeing, number one, you saw that he wasn't telling the truth.
About nothing.
About nothing.
He told me his mother and father was dead.
Wow, and they're alive.
And I called these people on the phone and beyond my belief, I'm talking to dead people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that moment, or I say fast forward to going through the relationship up into the marriage, you saw a lot of red flags, which we ignore because we're tired of waiting.
I wouldn't say I was tired of waiting. Okay. I wasn't even tired of waiting.
Okay.
I was just, my husband was very educated.
Okay.
My husband came from a well family. Mm-hmm. My husband was a provider.
Okay. That's number one that we tend to like, okay, he's a provider. So
yeah, he's a provider. So what does that mean? Right. Now that I understand it, what's that mean by me being a provider? Yes, I want him to be a provider, but it's more to being a provider.
Yeah. Than just
so he was everything. I mean, he went to Bethune-Cookman College. He was, everybody loved this man. I had the perfect husband, but no one knew the demon I was living with.
So in front of everyone, he was this perfect guy.
Oh, he was a perfect husband.
But behind closed doors,
he was Satan's son. I tell everybody he was Satan's son.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is, why do you feel like you ignored the red flags? Did it go back to your childhood trauma of what you went through and you was like, okay, you know what, or it's just, I don't know what love looks like, so.
Yeah, I had no idea what love was. So he was providing for me. So he must love me. He must
love me. Okay.
He was my kid's stepfather, so he seemed to love the kid, so he must love me. So I had to be the good little wife, or the good little girlfriend, and just keep my mouth closed, because I was raised that little girls are to be seen and not heard. So I wasn't supposed to talk back to the man because he was the head of the house. My opinion did not matter because he was the man of the house. So I was supposed to just follow behind what the man was doing.
Okay. So like in my last podcast that we was talking about misconceptions in relationships. So I think number one should be to heal first. If you have went through any trauma in your life, to heal first, because it doesn't matter even if you see the red flags in a relationship or anything that might ding in your head and be like, you know what, this is not right about this person. Because if you have not healed, if you have not prepared or got yourself educated, you're not going to really look for no.
I ask people when we talk about these things right here, because I had to take a non-sex offender class once we found out my husband was a child molester.
Wow.
And I tell people, as I said in this class, and I listen to these people read the textbook and tell me of things you should know, things you should see about a child molester. All lies. All lies.
And would you say that he was a narcissist?
My husband was. He's top the line of a narcissist.
Okay, because when you had said something about a person that appears to be a certain type of way in front of everybody, but behind closed doors they're another type of way, and they do it real good.
Yes,
they play it. Narcissists are real smart.
I had no idea this word even existed when I was coming along as a child. Up until my early adulthood, I had no idea it even existed that my husband was a narcissist until crazy 10 years after I was out of this relationship. Now I've been through this for 10 years. When I got out of this relationship and I sat and I listened to a lady talk to me, and I was the one who said I was never abused because he never physically hit me. So I wasn't abused. I wasn't like you. I wasn't like the lady over here. I wasn't like the lady over there. I wasn't like the man. I wasn't like anybody. I was different because I wasn't hit. So I had such an uppity little attitude.
So you didn't know what abuse
was. I didn't even know what abuse was.
Okay.
And as she started talking to me about some of the things that he was saying and doing, I was like, gosh, that was my life. Right. Whoa, that's me.
Right.
And she said, Deandra, although you wasn't physically abused, you're emotionally, and
and
mentally abused.
Wow.
And I was like, if I'm emotionally and mentally abused, my kids are definitely emotionally and mentally abused.
Right.
Because what I went through, my children was right there.
Right.
So they went through it as well.
Right.
And this is something I explain. Let me tell you, this is something I explain to women too. We tend to think that it's all about us and what, we've gone through this and we've gone through that. But if you have children in that household, they are going through it just as much as you're going through it.
They might not say anything.
They might not say anything to you because they don't want to hurt you. But they are going through the same trauma that you're going through. And I didn't know this. I didn't see any of this. I was so blind and oblivious to all of these things that was going on in my life right in front of me, because guess what? He was a provider.
And that's what we want. We want a provider, but we don't want the abuse that comes with it.
Of course we don't want the abuse to come with it. Unfortunately it did. But now that I'm to the point that I am at right now.
Okay. So let me ask you this question right here. Let me see. So after everything you have went through, your husband, and then was it more? Do you feel like you was attracting more relationships?
I was attracting my husband. I was attracting my husband. It's like a revolving door,
like
until
a constant
you heal,
repeat.
Right, until you
why
heal
am I keep
within
attracting
yourself.
the same person, or why do I keep putting up with the same individual? And because we can't help who we attract. We're gonna attract all types of people, but it's what we accept in our life.
Because I was shattered.
Yes.
When you're shattered, you accept anything. Until you heal, until you change the mindset. You have to change the mindset. Right. Until you change the mindset, you're going to continue to attract the same thing. It's like a revolving door.
I call it a test. It's a test. Like God is going to see if you learned your lesson from the last relationship that was a chaos. And then you go into another relationship that's similar to the last one. Because I, went through the same thing as far as like, why am I attracting the same types of men? But also, why do I keep putting up with the same type of men? The same type of men, but just a different body.
Because you was broke.
Exactly. And then, the last relationship, I thought it was going to work because, oh, he's spiritual. He's in ministry. Oh, he loved God. He shows that he loved God in person. But behind closed doors, it was none of that. It was none of that.
Well, at least he showed he loved God. Mine didn't show he loved God.
Okay.
He didn't show anything. He was emotionless. Now that I look back over my life, I look at him. I don't hate him. I had to forgive people who hurt me.
Okay.
I had to forgive people who left me for dead. I had to forgive this man who hurt me and left me for dead, who tried to destroy me, who tried to take the last breath that I was breathing from my body.
Wow.
Who molested my children, who separated me from my family, who had me in such a mess. I had to forgive him.
And that's what we do. We have to forgive the people who have hurt us, not for them, but for us. Because as long as we are hurting, as long as we hate them, as long as we keep, just
Keisha, and it's crazy, I never hated him. I disliked his behavior.
Okay.
But I never hated him. I knew something was wrong with him. Something was wrong. Something was broken inside of you. You don't even know what it is. You can't fix it. You can't even begin to fix it, because guess why? You don't want to be honest with yourself. The hardest thing about healing is looking in that mirror and seeing the person is looking back at you and being honest to that person.
Okay.
That's the hardest thing, because when you're looking at this person, and I'm talking to this person, it's just for me, and I'm talking to myself about the things I've gone through and the things I allowed to happen to me. Because as I said to you before, there are some things that have happened to me in my life I had no control over. And then there's just some things happen in our life we have control over, but we just choose to stay in these places.
Yeah,
now, I go back to tell people I was a prisoner in my mind because my mind was locked into the fact that I was no good. My brain was locked that I would never find anybody. My brain was locked that I wasn't good enough. My brain was locked that I was ugly. My brain was locked that I was dumb. My brain was locked that I needed this man.
And did all this come from something that he was telling you emotionally?
It came from what he was telling me, and it came from how I felt about me.
Right.
Because I didn't feel good about myself. So some days I walk around with my hair sticking all the time, my head no bra, no nothing. Some days I didn't even get out of bed because I was so comfortable being in this spot that I was in.
Wow.
But I tell people, the thing about me is I'm so open and honest about who I used to be to where I am now. And I don't care what someone says and how someone look at me. Yes, I used to have a past and I used to live at that address. I don't live at that address anymore. I moved.
Right.
But I go back to say this. With all the red flags that were shown to me from this man, I thought he was my savior. I thought he came and saved me. Because as I do becoming a better version of yourself, and as I speak and as people hear, you will hear how I had a sex addiction.
Okay.
You will hear how men just used and abused me. You will hear how I had this hole inside of my body that I could not get filled because of the pain and the hurt that I went through.
Wow.
That the only thing satisfied me at that moment was sex, and it was only 45 minutes or whatever time it was. It filled me up for that moment. But once that was over,
but the void was still there.
Once that was over, the void was still there. Now it's how do I fix what's wrong with Deandra? Deandra don't fix what's wrong with Deandra.
Okay.
God fix what's wrong with Deandra. So I tell people from the age of 7 to the age of 46 and a half, Deandra lived this broken life. I wasn't living in this world. I was just existing.
Okay.
So at 46 and a half, let me tell you what happened. We'll get to the healing part.
Okay.
At 46 and a half years old, I went on Facebook one day, met a man. He and I talked that one day, and we didn't speak anymore. 6 months went on, and he posted another picture on Facebook. And I happened to see him on Facebook again.
Right.
So I sent him a message, safe travels. He comes back in my inbox and say, where have you been? And I said, on Facebook, just nippy, just on Facebook. That's where I've been. Right. So he says to me, oh, okay. He says, well, when I land, I'll call you. So I said, okay. So I'm thinking, because now you have to understand, I didn't know I was going through the healing process. God has a way of throwing things at you when you least expect it. I didn't know I was at the healing process. I thought I was still at the shadow process, even with talking to this man. So I was like, oh, it's just going to be something where he get on the phone, we talk, and, we're going to hook up and we're going to do our little thing, and he's going to leave, right? The man called me on the phone, and this particular man, he calls me on the phone, and he's speaking with me. And out of nowhere, my mouth opened up, and I started telling this man about the things that happened to me in my life. I told him how I was used and abused, how I was raped, how I had no place to stay, how I was homeless, how I was put out, how people spit on me when I was down, how people saw me and they passed by me, people I helped and people I went broke for. They saw me and they walking down the street and they would pass right past me and they would splash water on me. And then they'll call me on the telephone and tell me, oh, I thought that was you. I wasn't sure that was you walking home.
Wow.
I told him these are the things that happened to me, but yet I truly will go and help the same people that gave me their butt to kiss. And he sat up in the bed and he said, I have to sit up and listen to you because you just gave me chills.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, I'm done now. So I get off the phone with him and I said, of course, he's not going to want to talk to me anymore. Who wants to talk to me? I sound crazy. He called me and he said, what happened? You called me. And I said, you still want to talk to me? And he said, yeah. I said, well, why would you want to speak to me? Because after all I told you, you should run the other way because I'm a whole mess. And he said, Deandra, what you went through and what you have gone through has created you to be the person that you are today.
Right. Right.
You didn't go through this just because. You went with this to lead up to the purpose in your life that God has placed on your life right now.
Right. Right.
And I thought to myself, okay, God, yeah, this is a crazy one right here. He's really crazy. He said, no, I'm not crazy.
And that's not sometimes what it is, because a person that has been through trauma and then somebody comes to you with the right intentions, then you'll be like, what?
Something is wrong
Something
with
is
you.
wrong, you know what I'm saying? Because you're so used to the trauma.
And that's how I was. I was so used to things happening to me and a disappointment in life. And how there was never no one to call. How me and my kids went without food. How, and I tell people in my stories, I used to take flour and put it in a bowl with some water and mix it up because that's all we had to eat.
God,
but there was nobody to call, so I would make pancakes for him. That's what I would make up for him, pancakes for him. My oldest daughter, although I was raped, and I had a child from my rape, and I was told to give her up for adoption, but I couldn't give her up for adoption because this is a part of me, right? So I kept my daughter, and she's my BFF right now. She had to leave school in the 8th grade to help care for the children that I had, because we had no one else to care for the children. I had to work and provide for them. So she's my stronghold. So I told people what was sent to destroy me and kill me actually was a blessing in disguise.
Amen.
Because she is my blessing in disguise. See, what we have to understand is people will send things. Things will come to us. It's going to come to us. It's how we deal with it, handle it, determines the outcome. I hate no one for what they ever done to me. Actually, I love everyone. Now that I know what love is, I love everybody. They call me up today, I'm going to talk to them and speak to them as if nothing ever happened, because I tell people, you did nothing to me. You only did it to yourself. See, we can walk around and hold grudges towards people for things they have done to us. I'm not giving you that satisfaction. Oh no.
That's too much
energy. No, I'm not giving you that satisfaction.
I had to learn that.
I'm gonna love you anyway.
I had to learn.
But I'm gonna love you, and I'm gonna love you from a distance. But guess what? If you call me and say you hungry, I'm gonna bring you some food. If you call and tell me you need a glass of water, I'm gonna bring you the water. Because you've done nothing to me. I still walk in your place and I still smile at you. I give it to you and I leave.
Amen.
Because I have learned I will not allow anyone else to come into my life and decide my destiny, not for me.
Amen. Amen.
So now we go back to the guy that I met. So I met this guy, and he drove over 800 miles to see me. And I'm thinking, this man must be really, really crazy. Look, he got to be crazy. God knew what he was doing. I just didn't know what was going on. God sent him there. I said to this man, you ready to have sex? You know what he said to me? I'm not trying to have sex with you. I'm trying to get to know you.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what? He said, I want to get to know you as a person. I want you to tell me what happened in your life. I want to be that person to sit there across from you where you could just tell me everything that went on. Mm-hmm. I want to be there with you when you start to heal. And as I started to tell him these things, right in the bottom of my stomach was these knots. And I found myself on the floor curled up in a ball because it was just, I needed to get that cry out because I never had that cry.
Right.
I never had that scream. I never had that because I was always angry within myself. I never loved myself. Let's take it and be real and honest. And when I tell you I'm real and honest, I never knew how to love my children. I knew I was supposed to be taking care of her. I knew I was supposed to provide for them, but I didn't know how to love them.
Right.
Because I had no idea what love was, and I had no idea how to love anyone.
Right. And that's a lot of what we face in this with a lot of women right now, because some of us have not seen that image of love, or what love is supposed to look like. So we, just like now, we see it on TV. I don't know about today's TV, but back then, we saw love on TV, and we thought, okay, well, that's how love is supposed to look. But still, we wasn't taught how love is supposed to look. Or even if we was brought up in a broken home with no love, you know what I'm saying? We got love from our moms or grandmoms, but the father was not in the home. So we don't know what, like a man and a woman coming together with that true love. We didn't know what it looked like.
What it looks like. And I tell people that's what a lot of our men, we talk about women all the time. Mm-hmm. We really do. We focus on women.
We do.
But we have to take a focus on these men as well.
We have to put accountability on the men as well.
Some of these men don't know how to love because they ain't never seen love.
You're absolutely right. And it's a lot of broken men.
It's a lot of broken men
because of with mommy issues, with mommy and daddy issues.
I told you that the other when we sit at the table. Men have mommy and daddy issues.
They do. They are just as broken.
They're just as broken as we are.
That's why they give us brokenness.
Because all they know.
That's all they know.
My kids, I told you, I'm so honest. My kids have mommy and daddy issues. Mm. But I'm able to sit down with my children, and I gave my children a platform to tell me how my decisions affected your life. Mm. A lot of parents can't sit there because we don't want to hear the truth about some of the things we've said and some of the things we've done. And it's a thing. You might not know that what you said hurt your child at that point in time.
Right.
You might think that you just said that because, well, I was angry at the time and I said that, or whatever. And my mom said it to me and my dad said it to me. Our kids deal with things differently than what we dealt with things, right?
They do.
So when I set my kids down and I allowed my kids to share this with me, because I have to hold myself accountable. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to hold yourself accountable.
Yes, it is.
It's okay to be mad with yourself. But once you get overall, let's do this thing called healing. Mm. So while I sat there and I listened to my daughters tell me, well, Mom, when you was calling me all kind of H's and all kind of B's, when you got mad with this man or when you got mad with that man, or how you talked to me and how you said this to me. And I was just trying to ask you for a popsicle, and a popsicle caused a big old argument with you. And you just, remember when you struck me, or remember when you threw me through a window?
Like the anger that was within yourself.
Exactly. I had to allow
but you was
them
letting it out
to get it out.
And that's exactly how in relationships, how everything bleed out, because within they're so angry.
We're so angry.
They're so angry.
Because we don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to comprehend. It's more than just communicating. You have to be able to comprehend what the person is communicating, because if you can't comprehend what they're communicating, then it's just a bunch of words just going on. And the thing about it is, we could be saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. We could be saying the same thing, just wording it different. Mm-hmm. So when I did that with my children, I allowed my children, people was like, how did you sit there and do that? I helped my children begin to start their healing process.
Yeah,
because I allowed them to get that out of there. Listen, I tell people throughout my life, and this is your live video, and people will see this. I was a horrible, horrible mother.
Wow. But you're being transparent.
But I'm being transparent. I'm being honest with myself, and I'm being honest with. I don't want nobody to think that I'm going to come on here and tell you a lie about who I used to be.
Right.
I was a horrible parent. I made decisions that I knew I shouldn't have made, but I did it anyway because it made me feel good at the time.
Okay.
And that's what we have to understand. When you are shattered, when you're broken, you don't always think clear or see things clear. You will do things to hurt people that you shouldn't be hurting. We will do and say things to hurt people because we are hurting.
Right.
And it seems like it makes it easier when we start hurting people and people are hurting with us. So I had to stop the hurting of other people because I learned this behavior from my marriage. When you stay in a place so long, you begin to pick
mimic,
up that behavior.
It begins to mimic
I
everything.
picked up this man's behavior. I never cursed a day in my life, and I found 5,000 cuss words that I could say to a person. I can cut you without even cutting you.
Wow.
Because I learned this man's behavior and I picked it up, and I thought that was getting results. It was getting results, but it was getting the wrong results.
Okay.
And that's what happens to us sometimes. We get into these relationships with these men, and we start picking up some of their behaviors. We start allowing them to dictate our lives and how we should do things. We're at the healing part. As I begin to heal with the man that I'm best friends with, I call him my everything right now.
Okay.
As I begin to heal, he used to say things to me. A man is supposed to deposit into your life, not make withdrawals. A man is supposed to meet, or a woman is supposed to meet each other where they need to be met at. And then he would go to say to me, if a man's action does not line up with his words, then you need to let that man go. Words are one thing, actions are another thing. So I learned to stop listening to people words and start watching their actions.
So now moving to your healing, what would you tell women who have been broken or who are still broken and trying to heal, trying to get to that point and feel like they can't get to that point because, I was once broken, but because that healing can feel like a detox, like you're going through
drug
withdrawals.
Yes.
Like Jesus, one day you're up, you're happy, tomorrow you're crying, like I can't believe this happened to me. But once you get to that healing and you get balanced out,
the trust the process. You have to trust God.
Trust the process.
You have to trust the process and trust God. It's a very hard process to get to the healing, because as you're going through the healing, you remember things that you forgot. As you're going through the healing process, like you said, one day you're up, one day you're down. No one controls your mind but you. No one is in your head but you. You can control your thought process. So I tell people all the time.
Let you talk for a minute. I'm going to get this charged.
So I tell people all the time, when people tell you what you cannot do, for every negative thing that someone say to you or try to enter into your spirit, I reject it. You say I cannot, God said I can. You said I would never be. God said I am. So when you go through this healing process, all of these things are going to come up to you. These things you're going to
I think we're back on. All right. We had some technical difficulties, but I think we're back on. So let's see. Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So, now what you were saying?
And the healing. You said how when I so trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Listen, I'm not going to tell anyone.
It's a process.
This is not going to be easy.
It's not overnight. Trust the process.
This is not going to be easy. But you have to trust the process and trust God.
Right.
And for all the negative things that you have gone through and that you heard people say, I like to tell when things like that come up in my mind, when I used to remember these things, I got into a routine of saying, when I remember him saying, you will never be anything, I started telling myself, oh, I'm everything. When he told me you wasn't beautiful, oh, I'm gorgeous. I started speaking life into myself. I started speaking positivity into myself because what I wasn't going to allow him to do was control my mind anymore. I had to let the shackles fall from my mind. I had to release my mind, but I could not do that without God's grace and mercy.
Amen.
I could not do that without God saying, you are still my child and I love you. And this is what we're going to do now.
Okay.
So you have to, I tell everybody, trust the process.
Trust the process.
This is hard as heck. I will tell nobody this is not easy. Trust the process.
It is, especially if you have went through trauma or an abuse and anything else that caused your life to, go left. So
because what happens is when you get into a relationship, you take this same stuff into a relationship.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's why when we was talking about misconceptions of in a relationship, in the courting stage, you have to make sure that number one, that you're looking for the red flags and that you're not ignoring the red flags that you see in a person. And first of all, you have to love yourself enough to know that I have to walk away from this situation. It's going to be better. Sometimes we feel like it's nothing better ahead of us. So that's why we stay in situations that's not for us.
Because we don't see what's ahead of us.
Because we don't see what's ahead of us, knowing what's ahead of us is far greater than what's behind us.
I was speaking to someone yesterday and I said, sometimes we have to hurt our heart in order to begin to heal.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to hurt your own self.
Yes.
Just in order to begin to heal.
Yes.
And guess what? It's okay.
It is. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I remember when I had when the vision came to me of what I was going to do with my life, I was sitting in the car and I told people, and I told you yesterday, had I continued on the life path that I was on, you would have never met me because I was going to check out a long time ago. I was already in suicidal stage.
Right.
But I tell people is we are in control of our destiny.
We are.
Don't allow anyone I don't care who it is. I don't care how much you love them or you think you love them. Don't allow anyone to control your destiny.
You're right. You're right.
Don't allow anyone to do it.
But also do not hold on to the past. Do not hold on to that hurt.
Let it go.
You have to release it. You have to release it in order to move forward. They did it. They did what they did.
That stuff will kill you.
They did what they did. Yeah. And guess what? You cannot change them. You can't change the situation. It already happened. So guess what? Move on. I used to hold on to it and carry and be like, you know what? I'm mad about it. I am so upset about it. But guess what? I had to release it in order for me to heal.
You know, the crazy part about that, I was never mad with them. I was always mad at myself. I was never mad at the person who did the hurt to me. I was always mad at myself. The hardest part about all this is forgiving yourself. You have to grant yourself permission to forgive yourself.
You're absolutely right.
Grant yourself permission to forgive. I granted myself permission for dealing with the things that I should not have dealt with. I granted myself permission. And once I started doing these things right here, I don't exist in this world anymore. I now live in this world.
Amen.
I gave birth to the new me 3.5 years ago.
Amen.
I birthed the new me. So when somebody can, oh, I remember when you used to. I remember when I used to too. I'm glad you remember that, and I don't want you ever forget it. And I used to be a part of it, so of course I know what it is. But what people tend to do is always tell you what you used to do. No one likes to tell you about the new you.
Right. Right.
Some people don't even want to see you make a change. You have to be careful about the people that enter into your lives, because not everybody come into your life have good intentions. They may seem at first that they're there with you and they support you and they want you to be this great person, but you have to be careful because some of them are very clever. You say we have to watch them, and not some of them don't send the red flags until after the fact.
You're right.
Some of them will put it down as if they're the greatest and make you think, the world is standing right in front of me. Yeah, I remember my husband told me when we got married, I got papers on you now.
Wow.
Didn't know what that was. But now I'm to the point I am right now. I don't go through all of that right now.
Right.
For some reason, I'm still being wild off my feet 3.5 years later. And I love it here. I don't want to go back over there ever again. I'm almost 50 years old.
Right.
You think I want to keep going through this garbage? No.
No. So when we get to the key points about from broken to healed, in your healing process, number one, you have to forgive yourself for what, just forgive yourself for what you allowed to happen, what happened to you, what he did to you, what she did to you. You have to forgive yourself. Number two, it's a process. So it's not going to be an overnight process, but you have to take one day at a time. Of course, you're going to have to pray it out. I mean, pray all day sometimes, especially when you start getting those thoughts in your head about the situation. You have to pray through and say, you know what, I bind up these thoughts.
But sometimes you can't pray. Because sometimes that pain is just that deep, you can't pray. Because I remember when I was mad with God.
Yeah, I
was so mad with him. I just couldn't believe
I was mad.
He called himself loving me and allowing me to go through all of this stuff. Oh, I was mad with him.
You're right. You're right.
I couldn't speak to him with my mouth, but I spoke to him with my heart.
And that's just being transparent. Not to say that an individual might not love God, but sometimes a person might get to that point where they say, you know what, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? I'm so I'm angry with you for allowing it.
You should have took me out of this long time
ago. Knowing that sometimes we put ourselves in situations and It's not that he put us in a situation. We put ourselves in that situation, and now we're mad with him because of the situation.
Sometimes he remove us from the situation, and what do?
We go back.
We go back and pick up that situation. We go right back and ask God to remove from us.
We go right back
because we gonna fix them. We gonna fix them. We know how to fix them. How can we fix somebody when we can't even fix ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
We can't fix ourselves. This is God. God has to fix us. Mm-hmm. We can't fix ourselves. I tell people, we all could say that John was a bad guy. Mm-hmm. John just wasn't the guy for me. Mm-hmm. Just don't mean John was a bad guy. John just wasn't the guy for me. Mm-hmm. Now, John could get over there with Cecilia, and he could be the world's greatest person. That just means John was meant for Cecilia. We put people in our life sometimes it's not supposed to be there. Tyler Perry said it best when he said, some people are just supposed to come in your life for a season. Some people just
probably
pass
not at
by.
all sometimes.
Some people just pass by. You just speak to them and keep going.
Exactly.
But then we as women, with this little nurturing, want to fix everybody. We just feel we can fix everything. Mm-hmm. We just take them on up.
Yes, we do.
And guess what? Some of them so good, they destroy some of the strongest women.
It happens.
I watched one.
It happens.
They will destroy some of the strongest women. And some of the strongest men will get destroyed by some of these women. Mm-hmm. Because I tell people, we sit around and talk about women all day. I have an open group for men and women. Mm-hmm. I tell men, be careful because some of us are just as ruthless as you are. Mm. We will snatch your heart from your chest.
Right.
And one guy said, I like the fact that you actually say that. Because everybody want to say it's the men being, no, sometimes we just, oh boy, we become.
We do. We do.
Our mouth sometimes becomes so foul. I know for me.
Mm-hmm. But that all goes back to when you're healed. When you're healed, it's just like you have to have a new mindset. So when I say when you healed, that's you putting God back into the mix. Because while you're not healed, you're gonna be mad at God. But when you're healed, you're gonna be like, you know what, God, what in the world was I thinking? You're probably gonna look back at the person that you was mad with and be like, what in the world was I? Why in the world did I choose him to even be a mate?
Some of us women and men look like that person we was waiting to be like, I can't believe I even dated you.
Right. It'll be
like going crazy over you.
Right.
Yeah, we get like that. But once we heal and we understand who we are, once we begin to love ourselves, once we begin to let God be God, and stop trying to be God, we have to let God be God. Once we let God be God in our lives,
right,
then things changes in our life. We can, or some of us are like the Israelite. I told you that the
children of the Israelites.
Some of us are like that. Well, it took
bring that story
3 days,
right? I bring that story up a lot.
40 years. Right. That's some of us.
I bring that story up a lot because he was supposed to. What was supposed to take
3 days?
3 days took 40 years.
That's some of our lives.
Right. So what I was saying is, the key points to healing.
The key point to healing is, first of all, be honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself. You lying to me or anyone else is not helping you.
It's not. All. You have to be transparent.
You have to be honest with yourself.
Right.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, but trust the process. When you lay down at night, say your prayers. When you wake up in the morning, God give you another chance for another day to do it differently.
Right.
Trust the process is the most important thing you can do, but more importantly, trust God.
You have to.
When you cannot say anything to him and the tears just fall down your face, trust me.
Sometimes you don't even have to say nothing. You just have to
hear those tears.
You just have to like, God, I don't know what to pray for right now. What I'm just, whatever it is, I'm just I mean,
worship. God is an
worship.
awesome God.
Yes,
God
He
is an
is.
awesome God. He
Yes, He
loves
is.
us through everything. He's an awesome God.
Mm-hmm.
He has never left us nor either forsaked us. We leave God. God never leaves us.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to understand, we have to trust God's plan in our lives. If you asked me 3.5 years ago when I'd be discussing my life with people, I would have told you no. Mm. But I remember when God told me I was going to do this, and I said, oh God, this must be crazy. Who want to hear what I've been through? I mean, it's been heckle. Well, I done went and played in hell with the devil, done turned around, he done spit me back out, done brought me back and everything else. And you want me to tell somebody this story?
Right.
He was like, yeah, because your story is going to help someone else. It's going to help someone else. And some people are going to start telling their story. And that's how people are going to start healing. Mm-hmm. Because what they're going to know is they're not alone in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some people think that, you know what, I'm the only one going through this situation. No. You're not the only one that done been through it, going through the situation. But it's just when you're going through that healing, you're gonna feel sometimes like you're alone.
Yes,
but and sometimes you have to, in that healing process, sometimes you have to get in that alone time, because I know I you can't completely shut yourself out from, you know, everybody, but sometimes it takes that alone time to heal, because then you're gonna have everybody in your ear. Oh, getting you mad, probably telling you, oh, you should go do this to that person. Oh, you should do that to this person.
What I hate is when people tell me, if it was me, I would have did it different. Well, guess what, honey? It wasn't you.
Right.
And until you walk in my shoes, please don't tell me what you would have done. Mm-hmm. Because you don't have a clue what someone else is going through.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can't tell someone how long they should grieve, how long they should hurt. Mm-hmm. You can't tell someone that. Mm-mm. No. Because you do not know. If you're their friend, you be there with them through it all.
Especially if you haven't been in that person's
You
shoes.
have not a clue what that person is going through. Mm-hmm. No. And you have to be careful about these so-called friends that you tell your business to, because while you telling them, they over there texting somebody else trying to tell your story on how you should have handled this and how they would have handled. You have to be careful about these so-called friends. Let me tell you, these so-called friends are something else. I tell people, I know of a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I only know a few people.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Because everybody I know, I don't know them. Mm-hmm. I just know of them. Mm-hmm. This journey I've been on.
It's good, like, to pray for discernment. You have to have discernment, especially dealing with individuals.
This journey I have been on, Keisha, I would tell you, have been an eye-opening. It has its moments of up and down. Mm-hmm.
But that's life.
And it has its moment.
We're gonna go through stuff.
Yes, it had its moment of, even during my healing process, I was still ready to commit suicide. Wow. And I was healing. But that pain had done sat there so long. Mm-hmm. So one minute I felt I was here, I was healed, I was good, I was okay. Mm-hmm. And something would transpire and take me back there.
Like a trigger.
It was certain things that happened that would take me back there. And when people tell me, oh, I just don't worry about it no more, I just swept it out and kept going. Oh, I'm here to tell you, I get to take care of a lot of people in my life. Mm-hmm. And I get to sit and talk with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I listen to people, and I told you this, I listen to people when they talk. And I sit with Alzheimer's patients and I listen to them talking. Mm-hmm. They're telling a story about what happened to them. Mm-hmm. But it's a little foggy because they just can't remember exactly how it happened. Mm-hmm. And the kids are saying, oh, but that never happened to mom. Oh, something happened to mom. Mm-hmm. Mom just can't tell you exactly how it happened.
Right.
Because mom brain went into protection mode and protected her. Mm-hmm. Now the brain is released. Now it's relaxed.
Okay.
So until we deal with these things that have happened to us in our lives, trust and believe me. Mm-hmm. the least little thing can happen that would trigger something in you. We have to.
So that's why you have to get those thoughts. It's gonna come.
It's gonna come.
You're gonna have negative thoughts. They're gonna come to you. That ain't nothing but the devil. Because like they said, the devil, your mind is the devil's playground. So you're gonna have to throw those, bind those thoughts up.
So what happens when someone don't know how to bind those thoughts up? What happened when because now I tell people this right here too, as I speak with people. I can come to you and I'm around you. But I come to you one day and I'm like, hey, Keisha, how you doing? You're like, hey, how you doing? We wear masks. People wear masks. Before masks was mandatory, we had it on our faces for the longest. So we wear masks. So I come to you and I give you a hug, but there is something different about that hug from that hug that you've given me before.
So going back to what you're saying is how to bind up. What to do when you have those negative thoughts. I can tell you from experience, not something that somebody just saying, just to say, oh, okay, well, but you do this and it's going to work. I'm going to tell you what worked for me, what worked for my healing, because I have had those negative thoughts come to me. And, I'll get so angry to where I start crying and just crying and crying. But when I started putting on worship music, when those thoughts hit me, I started putting on worship music and say, you know what, God, take this thought away from me. Take it away from me. You have to get down. You're going to have to cry. You're going to have to cry out to God. Like, take it away from me because I don't want it no more. And you're going to have to give it back to him.
Girl, I had to pull over on the side of the road in my car.
Sometimes, it's going to take you sometimes to just cry.
And just cry and get it out.
Exactly. And that's praising God. That's giving him that's giving those thoughts back to him. Just binding it up. Be like, no, the devil is a lie. I'm not going to think about this.
You know what people tell me all the time? They say, do you know what I love about you? I say, what? They say, we can come to you about anything. We call you any time of the night and you get up and you have a conversation with us and you speak with us about the things that we need to talk about. But one thing I love about you is you never pass judgment on us.
Okay.
And I said, of course not. Why would I pass judgment on you? I was once that broken person. I was once that shattered person. So why would I judge you? Judge ye not, for we all will be judged. I have no room to judge you. I have no heaven or hell to put you in.
Right.
I don't even know if I have the answer to what's going on with you.
Right. Right.
But I'm here for you to talk to and for you to get it out. Now, can we sit down and come up with a solution to maybe this will maybe help you? I can give you some suggestions.
And that's what it's all about. What you went through can help the next person. So it's all about you telling them, okay, what I went through and how I handled it. You know what I'm saying? How I handled the situation, how I got through the hurt, how I got through the pain, how I got through the healing. And I'm still healing. I'm still preparing. Every day I'm doing something towards bettering me as a person. And that's how it's supposed to be.
What I love about me is learning new things. I learn something new every day. And I'm so excited about learning stuff new.